Myers, I feel bad for you, man. Your first movie was what I consider practically flawless. John Carpenter cast and crew made a movie that had a chilling atmosphere, great acting, gripping story, and all around, I put it into my top 3 favorite horror films of all time and my top 10 favorite films of all time. Your second one wasn't as good as the first, but it was still a masterpiece, and Carpenter wanted to stop there. But studio execs never know when to leave well enough alone, and what followed was 20 plus years of desperately trying to recapture the golden egg when the goose was already dead. Your original sequels eventually delved into some mythical cult bullshit and incest rape, which was not only violently unnecessary, but it also doesn't match your character at all. I just can't picture Michael Myers, the unstoppable, unfeeling killing machine, letting a bunch of dorks in black cloaks tell him what to do, and I equally can't see him willingly participating in any sexual act, much less... yeah. But then Jamie Lee Curtis came through and said she'd do one more movie, rewrite all the bullshit of 4 to 6, and give us a proper ending to the series. And then they forced her to do it again. And then she came back to do it again. And then after the fans were more than pissed off, Rob Zombie rolled in and attempted to redo your character, giving you more compelling backstory, which I personally enjoyed. But then his second movie turns you into some hallucinating emotional weirdo. And Jesus fucking Christ, can nobody get this character correct? As a matter of fact, they sort of can. I, for one, think Behavior has done a fantastic job porting the idea of Michael Myers into deli meats by delivery. In fact, thematic-wise, I'd say Myers is the most accurate to every other licensed killer. When you play Myers, you feel like you're playing Myers, taking the time to watch your prey, getting the useless fodder out of the way until only you and the one that you truly want to kill remains. When you're a survivor, there's something about hearing that Halloween theme swinging your camera around to see Myers standing a ways away, watching, waiting. Unfortunately, in terms of gameplay, Myers is a heaping, steaming pile of Marie shit. The literal second worst killer in the game, Myers takes ages to get to where he needs to be effective. And while the playstyle is lore accurate, I can't help but feel that it isn't enough. Now, there's going to be people who disagree with me here, the classic not every killer needs to be S tier argument, and I'm not saying that's what we need for Myers. But in fact, you'll find today's buffs to not compromise the integrity of the lore playstyle too much. Instead, I'm going to be focusing on improving his speed at getting to the good parts, and I'll be taking a look at his add-ons as well to try and create a more counterbalance to the power. So let's get the power out of the way first. Myers' power is threefold, literally. His power has 3 tiers to it. You move between the tiers by staring at survivors with your M2 held down, and they will glow white. The more red a survivor glows, the less stalk they have in them. Stalk survivors enough, and you move from tier 1 to tier 2, and then tier 2 to tier 3. And after 60 seconds, you'll drop from tier 3 to tier 2, but you can never drop from tier 2 to tier 1. I'll cover the tiers in a moment, but I just want to try and touch on how the stock mechanic works because it's dummy complicated, and it's one of the things we will be improving in today's video. This is going to get technical with some numbers, so bear with me. To tier up in each tier, you need 5 stock points. Each trial has 40.4 stock points spread evenly throughout the survivors, so in each trial, each survivor has a 10.1 stock rate, meaning one survivor can get you from tier 1 to tier 2, then that survivor has 1 tier 3 in them, and all other survivors have 2 tier 3s in them, leading to a total of 7 possible tier 3s. Now, the rate at which you consume stock points is 0.8333 stock points a second, but this decreases the further away you are and does not increase if you are stalking multiple survivors. Typically, at the closest range, which is 2.5 meters, it takes you 6 seconds to go up a tier, and at further ranges, it can take up to 60 seconds. And this is all starting to become boring, so here's a joke from my Dungeons & Dragons joke book I got from my birthday last year. Why don't dragons like to eat paladins? They taste lawful. Anyway, in any case, there is a lot of math that goes into stalking, and we are going to improve a lot of it. But first, let's talk about each tiers. The essential difference between the tiers is fourfold: your terror radius, your movement speed, your vaulting speed, and your lunge duration. At tier 1, you are permanently undetectable. Your lunge lasts 0.2 seconds, your vault speed is that of a normal killer at 1.7 seconds, and you move at 105% for 4.2, which is only slightly faster than survivors. At tier 2, you have a 16-meter terror radius, move at 115% or 4.6, have a normal lunge attack of 0.5 seconds, and a reduced vault time of 1.48 seconds. And finally, at tier 3, you have a 32-meter radius, move at 4.6, have a lunge of 0.6 seconds, and vault at a whopping 1.275 seconds, which, if you don't know, survivors vault at 0.5 seconds for a fast and 0.9 seconds for a medium. And also the big one for tier 3 is 60 seconds. Every survivor is exposed, and then Myers reverts to the baseline tier 2 like I mentioned earlier. So with all this in mind, what exactly is the problem with Myers? Well, if you hearken your mind back to around 4 paragraphs ago, you'll remember I mentioned Myers' slowness to perform. Myers is a very nervous lover, you see. He's not confident. You have to talk to him, make out a bit, tell him it's all right, and you'll understand. Then after an hour and a half of this, he takes you and raw dogs you in the best way you've ever been taken, and emotions run high as you wonder if this is truly love or if it's something else. And sorry, got away from myself for a moment. You see, for all the talk of taking 6 seconds to finish a stalk, many times the range at which it takes 6 seconds is too close to get it done without notifying the survivors of your presence. And 6 seconds in DBD is a lifetime. In a game where every second counts, taking 6 seconds to get to something useful is a commitment I'm not sure you're ready to make yet, no matter how good Myers is in bed. Okay, sorry, I'll stop now. But seriously, tearing up with Myers feels like an eternity, and if you try to use his more powerful add-ons, it really is an eternity. So how do we fix it? Now, I do want to say before I get into these changes that I went through probably about 5 iterations of what I wanted to try to do. And each and every one iteration that I went through had more problems than the last, until eventually I started trying to just go off the cuff and talk unscripted. And that's what ended up making it into the final iteration. But if you guys are curious, here's some of the bases that I tried to do. One, I tried to make tiers rely on hooks over stalking and then give stalking bonus effects for each tier, which reiterated the slowness problem of Myers. Then I tried to remove the tiers entirely, but then there was no real reason to stalk, and it all became more about trying to get the survivors exposed, which was just another ghost face, basically. Then what I tried to do was I tried to completely remove the stalking aspect entirely and give him a new power that just kind of gave him undetectable on command. But again, this was just not something that was necessary when it came to Myers himself. Overall, every time I kept trying to go through iterations of the new power, I kept running into the same problem. Either I was going to change his play style to where he didn't feel like Myers anymore, or I was going to create a worse version of a different killer, mostly Ghostface. So in order to try to bring Myers up to a level I think he should be, all I really did was kind of give him buffs over a rework. And at the end of the day, I only ended up changing one add-on, like giving specifics for the change to one add-on, but other add-ons I think will be adjusted accordingly, and I'll talk more about that in the add-on section. So in order to fix Myers' stalk, we just need to do 3 things. We need to help him get it more often. We need to help him not lose the ability to get it. And sorry, that's only 2 things. So, step 1, remove limitations on stalk. Much like Freddy and the Jinn teleports, I think it's really dumb how you can run out of your power as the match goes on. Killer is supposed to thrive the longer the match lasts, not get weaker. And unfortunately with Myers, if you use all 7 of your tier 3s, then you're pretty much just a really, really, really bad M1 killer for the rest of the match. And I don't think that should be the case. Step 2, make it to where stalking multiple targets fills up the meter faster. I can't for the life of me think of why it shouldn't improve the stalk speed. I'm going to guess that there is probably some concern about him getting to tier 3 too fast. And when he first got released, yeah, I could probably see that being a problem. But in today's meta of everything being stupid fast and gen rushes and all of that, he shouldn't be limited like that. Step 3, make stalking people on generators slow their gen repair speed by 5% per person being stalked. This is probably my most controversial change so far, but I think that it plays thematically. Imagine if while you're being stalked, the survivors start turning their heads, looking for the source of an uneasing feeling, and it causes them to mess up. Or maybe when being stalked, the skill checks lose their great zone and happen more frequently. We can do that or the 5% reduced. I think either one would be kind of cool and really thematic, because like I said, whenever Myers is stalking you, I think that there should be this feeling of a chill up your spine, like, oh my God, is he close? Is he near? And yeah, I just think that this change would add a lot thematically, as well as help Myers with the problem of people gen rushing through him. Step 4, make the min-max time to tier up go from 6 to 60 seconds to 6 to 30 seconds. Myers should not have to be breathing down the necks of survivors to get his stalk in a reasonable time. And this 60-second time limit that can happen at longer ranges is part of the reason survivors finish gens so damn fast. Probably my most controversial part of this video, I think, is that his add-ons are actually perfectly fine. I think that Myers only really has one problematic add-on, and it's the one that's most complained about, and that's the Tombstone piece. But before I get to the Tombstone piece, I want to talk really quickly about the fact that Tuft of Hair and the normal Tombstone, the two iridescent add-ons, should definitely be readjusted if these changes were to go live, so that they match what they currently are on live for how long it takes to get to them, because otherwise Tuft of Hair and Tombstone piece are too Tuft of Hair and Tombstone are too powerful. But I know a lot of people have a problem with Tombstone piece itself, so I think that it should be changed to... In this rework, Tombstone piece would make it to where you can only kill someone who you've stalked for at least 25 seconds in the match, and they will glow red when they are ready to be killed. This way, people can stop crying about, quote, teammates feeding Myers, and know that the only reason they got moried was because they fed Myers, which is often the case anyway. Yeah, the fix section is over, but I just want to rant about this real quick. I'm really sick and tired of seeing people say that the reason they hate Tombstone piece and Tombstone itself is because, quote, their teammates fed Myers and they didn't. What normally happens when people say that, especially if I'm playing Myers myself, I see this all the time. People will be like, oh my god, I can't believe you guys fed the Myers. And then me as the Myers player looking at them like, you were part of that too. Because you guys got to understand that tier 1 and tier 2 Myers are very difficult to know when they're around. So sometimes when you get suddenly tier 3 out of fucking nowhere, you think that, oh, my teammates must have been feeding Myers because I would have noticed him. A lot of you do not have the situational awareness that you think you do. I have played Myers so many times. I mained Myers for 3 weeks straight, grinding out his achievements. Trust me, I can tell you right now that a lot of you just do not pay attention to your surroundings. And I have gotten more than enough times where I have gotten people caught off guard with a tier 3 Myers and they complain in the in-game chat, and I just have to tell them, dude, I stalked you. I drained you. A lot of times, I'm telling you, chat, a lot of times I have had people who have been like, I've drained them completely of their stock, and they have the audacity to blame their teammates for feeding stock to Myers, and that's just not how it works. But that's the video, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below. And as always, a special thank you to my channel members, Nuclear Bomb and Spirit Upgrades, for the additional support. If you want to know how to get thank yous at the end of videos, as well as other perks, click that join button below. And don't forget, we have a limited time Halloween hoodies in the merch store. We have Ghost Girl Gang, a Stalker Halloween, and Candy Tonics, all available for 13% off when you use code BESTHOLIDAY at checkout. And if you guys can get any of those hoodies to 10 sales, they will stay permanently in the shop. Other than that, I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one.